What is going on, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We're really back this time. We're your hosts. I'm Marques.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we've got kind of a mixed bag, but it's a fun one. A bunch of the strangest, in my opinion, dumbest EV features we've seen in a long time. Also, possibly some of the strangest, dumbest smartwatch features we've seen in a long time. And then a whole bunch of the AI stuff that we've seen over the past couple weeks and months sort of building up. One of those things where, like, I think we're going to end up making a video on the main channel about this. And this is one of those times where we kind of use the podcast to have the conversation that turns into the video.
Jump off, yeah.
We sort of figure it out as we go. So we're doing it live. But first, we just want to say thanks for sticking with us. We're all good. We're back. We're in the studio. And we're also, if you're watching the video version, wearing some pieces that you probably are going to want to, if you're interested for the holiday season, probably going to want to check out shop.mkbhd.com. I'm wearing the holiday sweater that is, no doubt, by the time you see this, almost sold out. Just a warning. This is a limited edition thing.
I think it's only like bigger sizes left, and it's baggy too. So
so check it out if you're interested. Andrew's got the Chevron sweater.
Chevron, the OG. I'm being Marques for today.
Personal favorite.
Yeah, we just wanted to throw them on real quick because if you want them by holiday season, probably should order them quick. We don't shout out merch too often here, so please give us a quick minute to do it. But yeah, thank you so much for all the kind words last week. We all feel great now, and just big shout out to Adam, who, while we were sick, we really thought we would get back in on time, and we didn't. So last minute, threw an idea at Adam, and he made a 2-hour-long podcast episode.
I didn't know we had such a streak going until we checked.
100. I think that was our 144th episode.
That's almost 3 years in a row.
It's pretty crazy. And the funniest thing is, the closest we've ever come to missing an episode was episode 1, because we got messed up on when we were supposed to release it, and you were in California. You flew back from California,
right?
Recorded an episode on Thursday,
and then flew back to California.
Yeah, for what flew back like 2 hours later.
Yeah, good time.
So yeah, streak is alive. Episode 145 today.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Let's keep it going. We'll see how it goes.
This is the longest relationship I have with anything in my life.
Same.
That's Marques has been through like 14 different project apps.
How many phones have we used? The first phone we were using was probably very different when we started the podcast. You want to talk about these what is this? Earbuds or watch? Which would you call it?
Okay, let's do earbuds.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is it a
smart?
watch?
I think it's a smartwatch.
Smartwatch.
Okay, so Huawei. I don't know if this was a leak or Huawei posted it. I saw it on The Verge, but essentially it's a new Huawei smartwatch that then pops open and has 2 Huawei earbuds inside it. And when I first saw this, my immediate thought was, cool. The 2 things I want in a smartwatch are for it to be thicker and for it to have worse battery life. So I don't understand this at all. And surprisingly, when I said that on Twitter, a lot of people disagreed with me and thought this was really cool. And I'm just baffled by that aspect.
It's, I'll tell you what it is, which is an interesting gadget. And we don't get that many interesting gadgets. Aren't all the smartwatches kind of the same looking at this point? You can get the square one.
I don't think this looks any different than, I think this just looks worse than other ones because it's thicker.
Right,
and
but how many of them also let you hold and charge your earbuds? Like functionally, that's kind of cool.
I would love to hear this argument.
No, I just mean like, okay, in the future someday when battery life isn't dramatically compromised in this tiny amount of space, wouldn't it be cool to also be able to have your earbuds just like in your smartwatch?
Just this is one of those, as a hypothetical.
Yeah.
A hypothetical. Yeah. Sure. The thing here is like truly wireless earbuds like this are the absolute easiest thing to carry out of anything else in the tech world. Like these are the smallest carrying cases possible. They're super easy to bring with you literally anywhere. Even like, I know a lot of women say that they don't have pockets. Like they have enough of a pocket to fit an earbud case in generally. Like
this, I think this is one of the things that's underrated about some wireless earbuds that actually have a small case, because a lot of them have a surprisingly unwieldy case.
Fair.
And I think the smartwatch would be the smallest case possible.
Do you know why they're unwieldy? Because they have good battery life in them usually.
Yeah, they put a big battery in them. And then they need like the shape around them, and they need a nice clamp and some magnets and the clasp, and they put it all together. But like the Beats are like a giant case for no reason. Like they don't need it to be that big, I don't think.
Yeah.
AirPods are like literally one of the smallest cases for wireless earbuds.
They do. Yeah, AirPods are weird. When you look at them next to other ones, they look about the same size, but because of the shape and the thinness of it, it's usually much easier. I've found them to be some of the easier ones to carry around. New Galaxy Buds are pretty good, but this just to me, I mean, like, one of the arguments I saw was, no, now your watch has more batteries because the earbuds have batteries in it and it can take from the earbuds. And I was like, but then your earbuds have no batteries.
Yeah, that's weird.
You're just saying that there's space in there that could have just been a battery.
So one of these things has to have a terrible battery life. I mean, with today's technology,
I would argue both of them have a terrible battery life.
Probably, yeah. But the idea, the future.
The thing is like, I'm wearing the Galaxy Watch 5 right now. Mm-hmm. Do you think a pair of wireless earbuds could fit in this?
No.
How much bigger do you think this would have to be? I'm using the 40 millimeter also. So like this is the smaller one.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Watch Ultra and there's no way
earbuds would fit in that. And that is gigantic. Like there are a lot of people saying the Watch Ultra is really cool, but they could never wear it every day because it's way too big. This thing is going to be gigantic. Look at how small the leather band on it looks.
Yeah.
It's minuscule.
I guess on the other hand, and Adam can probably back me up, there's a lot of people who wear much bigger watches than the smartwatches that we're wearing right now. I don't know if those are the same people that want earbuds in their watch, but I'm just saying it's out there.
Do you know what's funny is in that situation, the company that I would probably believe this to be better, I think wouldn't make good earbuds, which is like Garmin. Like Garmin are big watches, insane battery life. So I don't think that's an issue already.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, like the new Epics just came out and has like a 16-day battery life or something. And I actually believe that it has a 16-day battery life.
So cut it in half and throw some earbuds
You'd still have
in there?
8 days of battery. But I don't think Garmin earbuds would be good. Maybe if they collabed. I mean, I'm sure Harman Kardon would love to throw their name on literally anything. So they could probably collab with Garmin. But maybe in that scenario, I could see it.
I just can't imagine how many times this is going to get knocked into a wall.
Because of how big it is?
Like, it's so big. There's a thing, like, in watches when you're wearing them, it's how many times you could just knock them into, like, the door frame as you're walking through it, and you're not paying attention.
And then
will the watch survive?
And every time you do that, 2 earbuds fall down on the floor and roll across.
Pops open and things are just,
Just like imagine being at the mall or something and just like now all of a sudden your earbuds are rolling away in a group of crowded people because you accidentally knocked into like a mannequin or a clothes rack or something like that. It all seems
crazy. There's just I agree with all of this. It's just that there's something about consolidating 2 things that you'd have to charge and carry separately into one thing, and that general idea I like. I don't know if you'd put like your earbuds in your phone. There's probably a phone case with earbuds in there.
I think there's at least been concepts of that. I almost feel like that makes more sense because phones at this point are already almost unwieldy to put in pockets.
Yeah, so what's another 100 million hours for your earbuds?
I don't know. Like I don't know how regular Huawei watches are. Have you tested one? I never have.
I have not.
I would assume they're similar to a Galaxy Watch, a Pixel Watch, just kind of like the standard. You have about a day, a little more than a day. So putting this in there, even if it's using the battery from the headphones on a day that you don't use it, there's still gaps of where it all has to fit and extra connectors that have to pair to it. Like you're losing battery space no matter what.
Dude, if Apple did this, the world would be on fire. Everyone would go nuts.
Someone said that. I don't think I agree with that.
I think they would love this.
I don't think. I don't think Apple would ever do this.
No, of course. But, well, maybe not ever. But if you tried to fit current earbuds, Apple AirPods or whatever, inside of an Apple Watch, it wouldn't work. But tiny, tiny earbuds inside of a watch, people would go, oh, that's just genius. That's beautiful.
I still think people would think it's stupid. Well, what's funny, I don't know.
It needs an amazing magnet.
I think the people who think this is cool would hate the Apple version of it. And I think the people who hate this would think the Apple version is cool, or the sane people like me, because I'm perfect, would think this is stupid all around. And I disapprove of whoever did that. We're going to have a talk after work.
I'm going to try to get my hands on this watch.
Okay.
I'm going to try.
Good luck.
I'm going to try.
Speaking of watches, really quick, a lot of people liked this last time, but do you see my my Alpine loop for my Galaxy Watch? Isn't that weird? Isn't this an Apple band? No.
Didn't you say somebody was like, nice watch, before you showed them the watch?
I went to a Taco Bell, my natural habitat, and the guy at the drive-thru was like, yo, sick watch, because I would kind of have my arm like resting on my window. And then I like turned it over and went, wait, what? Because it was a Galaxy Watch and not an Apple Watch Ultra. And
that's amazing.
I was like, that was amazing. But dude, there are so many good knockoff watch bands on Amazon. I have a Trail Loop knockoff and an Alpine Watch knockoff, and they were $10 each. So,
And they're probably very close in actual material and quality to the real
like,
thing.
I would call them 7 to 8 out of 10 in comparison. When you're a 10th of the price, yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
That's pretty good.
All right. Another kind of ridiculous thing though, that I know you want to talk about.
I want to talk about maybe one of the. This might not even be a hot take. One of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
This is funny because I get to play devil's
is
advocate for
literally
this
one of the
time,
dumbest
and
things.
you get to be mad at me.
Okay, so Lexus, there's a video on Evo Magazine's Twitter of Lexus developing a manual transmission for electric cars in the form of like the, a stick shift.
Like a full-blown
between.
stick shift.
Full-blown stick shift. And there's a video of this guy driving around for 45 seconds, shifting like a normal stick shift car, but it's like adding noise, adding all this extra work.
I didn't notice the noise.
Yeah,
I just
there's
watched the
noise.
preview.
It's terrible. We'll play a little clip of the video for you guys. But yeah, this seems like the one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Does it have a boost gauge?
It seems like it's got like an RPM counter, and yeah, I don't know what that. Maybe that's just a way of knowing when to shift. But like, I quote tweeted this with an older tweet of mine, and I think we've probably talked about this on the show at some point,
have, yeah.
which is like we're gonna look back at the transition period where you're trying to convince people to get an electric car, and look at all the weird things they do to imitate gas cars as hilarious. Because look, electric cars are just fundamentally easier to use, and to add back all of the clunky and inefficient and engaging of a manual gas car is just a waste of time. Get over it. Ignore just drive. Just drive. You'll be fine.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, but I also don't know why, because I truly don't think there's many people that would argue for this, because if you like manual, you probably hate EVs, and if you like EVs, you probably don't care about manual that much. I think there's a very small niche place that might find this interesting. Yeah. And we have talked about it a little bit before, in the sense of there is still driving scenarios that require that skill-based is more fun. And like maybe you're racing or something like that, where if you're just putting pedal to the floor, you're losing a lot of different variables that would
get a gas car.
I mean, eventually we would like to go everything to EV, right?
Yeah. I mean, the enthusiast fun car, I imagine that will stay the gas car the longest. There's no sense in making the electric. That's my thing. It's like 90% of the comments are like agreeing with me, like this is dumb. And then 10% are like, wait, I like manual cars. This is cool. But that person's still not buying this. They're just going to buy an older gas car to do this.
I think there's potentially an area in where we get to the point where EV is the performance you're getting out of an EV is so much cheaper than the performance you would get out of like a gas car. Like it already is at that point. So let's go even cheaper now. Like now you're racing something that's $30,000 but has a 0 to 60 that's equivalent to something that is like $70,000 to $80,000.
That's very normal right now.
Yeah, and then but now you can add the skill-based aspect of it. So if you're doing a track day,
to get slower.
To add variable, like the thing is if now you're racing on track day and the only aspect is pressing the pedal forward, like you're losing out on so much of,
I agree.
The actual
I just think there's
skill
still
part of it.
There's so many other things that are still skill related with driving. Like even when you go-kart race, which is just like, oh, you just hit the pedal and go. There's all the driving lines, acceleration, braking, handling the weight of the cart. Like all those things still matter. You just don't have to like there's lots of arguments in the gas car world now about like, oh man, Porsche's PDK is so fast, but I still want the manual version because it's more engaging, and I'll just be slower. And there's lots of cars that are literally too fast for a manual gearbox, and it's like we don't do manual gearboxes anymore because that's not safe.
I mean, the biggest argument to this is F1. F1 still has shifting.
F1 has shifting, and is there?
It's part of the sport. Like there is a skill gap between of people who are shifting better and I think cars that are built that are shifting differently.
Yeah, I think for the sport of professional driving,
that's
on
what
track,
I'm talking about. The sport,
cool.
Yeah, but there's still a hobbyist sport aspect of things.
It's
niche, and you're going to be paying a lot extra for this. I think the other thing is I saw a lot of comments that were saying, why would I want this? Why would I want to drive every day like this? Manual sucks in everyday driving. Like if it's electric, it's not going to be stuck in manual. It's going to be a mode. I guarantee you can drive this car with just a pedal and not having to shift. There's a lot of cars out there that have, even gas cars that have this like fake shifting or stuff like my Forester is a CVT, which doesn't have gears and still has fake shifting on it for, I think it's really stupid. But
So what happens when it fake shifts?
You fake shift and it just creates what it would be similar to a gear. I think the only real scenario is like if you wanted lower gear in like snow or mud or something like that. But if you, even in that scenario, if you fuck it up, it'll just be like, nope, you're wrong, and then go past it.
Yeah. This is like, there's an extremely small percentage of the population.
I feel like F1 is a thing, but we've been driving cars for 100-something years, and we still have horse races.
Yeah.
It's like there will always be like the people that take that older thing and continue doing it no matter what.
I think when you reach a like moment of peak performance, you need to add more variables into things to create larger skill gaps of stuff like that. So in the sport hobbyist aspect of this, like shifting is still going to be one of those variables that will make the difference between
on a track
drivers. Yeah. Oh, I'm only talking about track. If you do this on the
like
road,
a regular Lexus, I don't even know, maybe a car, maybe an SUV, and it's like you're adding inefficiency, you're adding distraction, you're adding engagement, sure, but for what? If you want that feeling, just get a gas car.
They're also driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Morons. Who would ever do that?
Driver on the right side of the car.
Jeez, we can't take them seriously at
Wild.
all.
Anyway.
So yeah, I want to say I've enjoyed both of us playing devil's advocate because I saw moments where both of us legitimately got mad at the other person.
I was so mad.
And I love it.
Can I throw one more wrench in here?
Do it.
Formula E cars have transmissions.
Of course they do.
I actually didn't know that. Also, no one cares about Formula E.
Well, that at the highest level,
they also have speed boosts.
I still think there's so many variables. I think with Formula E, there are way more regulations, so all the cars are more similar. So the gearbox is an actual variable.
I've always heard that it's a efficiency thing. Like you can actually pull more efficiency out of the electric motors by running them through a transmission.
Yes.
But I don't know.
So most electric cars today have one gear. And that's because they can run at an extremely high range of RPMs, from zero, having all their torque up to, say, 20,000 RPM or whatever. Tesla Model S is one of those. Lots of electric cars do that. There's a couple that have two gears, and they'll say they do that because they have a high performance lower gear for like getting off the line, quick acceleration, and then a lower RPM higher gear for efficiency. So when you're cruising along the highway, when you're going at higher speeds, you use that higher gear. That's why gas cars have so many gears, is because they're extremely inefficient outside of their like peak power band, which is several hundred RPM. So yes, adding more gears can make you more efficient, theoretically. It's just a matter of whether you want that complexity in a gearbox and do you want to add all those parts to your car when you can probably get away with having one gear and doing great things with several motors instead of several gears.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement that everyday driving, this is
everyday
ridiculous.
driving, I hate this with all my heart.
I think there's a sport hobbyist aspect of it that is kind of...
I'll admit that.
Yeah, if someone were to buy this for everyday driving, I bet they would use it for like a week and then probably never touch it again. Yeah. Like you would just drive the car normally.
They'd be so annoyed. All right, let's take a break. We got to come back and talk about all this AI stuff that's been on Twitter lately. BRB. Oh, wait.
I saw Ellis go for the microphone. Yeah. And
it's been so long. We had the Hassan interview. We had the week off. We completely fell out of our rhythm. We have to do trivia.
We have to do trivia.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's going to be a pretty trivia-tastic episode coming up pretty soon.
I knew about that.
Okay.
I knew about that.
So, we're making up for it. We'll make up for it.
But yes, trivia. Yes, of course. How could I forget?
All right. So across the Atlantic, far, far away, there's a magical realm called Europe. And in Europe...
I've heard of that.
Crazy, right? In Europe, there's a science center. And at this science center, both the Higgs boson particle was discovered and the World Wide Web was invented. Do you know the name of this science center?
Oh man. I thought I was going to be able to guess the country at least, and then you're like, nah,
I don't
let's
know
be
if
more
I know.
specific.
I know the name of the facility that the Higgs
Honestly,
boson thing
I'll take the country.
Oh, well, now it's going to be bad when I get this wrong.
I also
All right.
half know that. That's a good one. Okay. We'll come back. We'll be back. This episode is supported by Canva for Teams. Creating visual content is an essential part of what we do here at Waveform. Well, that's why Canva for Teams can help give you the tools you need to make your content stand out.
So we all kind of know that story of you starting YouTube on your webcam. But do you remember like the first time you bought a camera and made a setup? Like, what did you do to try and stand out from other YouTube channels then?
Yeah, I just remember I couldn't afford a DSLR, so I got the Sanyo Exactly CG10, and the only way to get a soft depth of field was to get as close to the subject as possible. Okay. And so I was able to make an expensive look with a cheap camera. It was huge.
Bravo.
Very resourceful. Canva for Teams, though, is a design platform that makes it easy for anyone to create stunning content on any platform, from social media posts to videos, presentations, and websites. The endless templates and premium fonts, photos, graphics, and videos can add personality and edge to anyone's content. And so with features designed for brand consistency, Canva for Teams makes it easy to maintain your aesthetic and add your logos, fonts, and colors to anything you create. So collaborate with Canva for Teams. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you go to canva.me/wave. That's canva.me/wave for a free 45-day extended trial. Canva.me/wave.
All right, welcome back to the AI podcast. I'm your AI host, Marques.
Oh no, he's real. He's real. Don't worry.
No, one of my biggest pet peeves, though, low key, is when companies say that they're using AI to do something when they're clearly not.
This morning.
I really get annoyed by this. Like, there are companies who say they have AI autofocus, and the difference between that and eye recognition is very faint. I don't know why they feel the need. I know why. AI is very futuristic. Mm-hmm. It's in the news a lot. It seems like this black box of mystery and wonder that kicks out amazing results, and so people like to lean into AI whenever they have anything smart in their product. It's AI. But I want to talk about actual AI for a little bit, because it has actually made the rounds on, you've seen it on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT conversations.
It's just nice to have Twitter about something else blowing up besides just Twitter. I'm tired of reading about Twitter for the last month.
Yeah. This is why I like Twitter. Moments like this, where we all get this little taste of the future through a OpenAI research project that is basically a chatbot, but that draws from a gigantic catalog of the world's information and is able to do amazing things. And it's kind of terrifying, some of the things it's been able to do.
It is fun to collectively gawk and be terrified together.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, this is one of those things where I want to make a video about this because I have some thoughts about all of the AI stuff, how it's used, what we can use it for, how it might evolve into the future. And this is, just me like thinking out loud on some of that stuff. But you have a...
So I want to talk about two of them. The two big ones we're talking about, ChatGPT, which is like a chat. And then we're also seeing a bunch of like avatar AIs. So we're going to talk about both of them quickly. Like you said, we haven't discussed this too far. We're going to use the podcast as kind of our first dive into this. And I think we've toyed around with it a little bit. So I have a couple examples here. ChatGPT, though, is like people are online. We're already getting people sending to us like creating full MKBHD videos through ChatGPT, and it does a pretty dang good job.
So basically what it is it's a text box. You can type in any chat and just have a conversation with it. Mm-hmm. You can ask it questions. You can give it lines of code and ask for it to find what's wrong with the code for you. You can ask it to write a poem for you. You can have a conversation back and forth about something you learned, and it will further educate you on the topic. Like, it has all this information to have realistic, meaningful thought and response conversations. Like we talked about when Google I/O came around and Google Assistant got more conversational. It would remember context.
What was that one project? They had like a conversation bot project they were working on.
And that was like more a research project like this. Mm-hmm. But even in the consumer product we use now, Google Assistant, when you ask, how tall is Barack Obama? It'll tell you. And then your next question can be, when's his birthday? And you don't have to say when is Barack Obama's birthday. You're in a conversation flow. This is like the ultimate highest end AI version of that in research form. And we've been asking it for all kinds of things. Hey, give me a script for an MKBHD video about, art and AI. And it will actually give me a script for an MKBHD video. Like, it's pretty good.
And the best part about it is like, what I really loved about that, I don't want to spoil too much because we have some fun examples saved for the video later. But
Yeah.
like when you say write it for a YouTube video, it ends with like, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Or like if you ask it to write you a tweet, it'll put hashtags at the end of it. Like it understands the context of even the social media. I get that it can do poems and stuff, but seeing that it's doing this like new age ways of posting almost and finding that context
it's
is
like
really
code switching.
really
Yeah.
cool. I made a couple examples for Waveform though today. The first one I did, I'd like for you to read it. I asked it to write an intro for the Waveform podcast hosted by Marques and Andrew.
Okay.
And I'm going to have Marques read this like a regular intro. And,
So
maybe we'll switch ours up.
This is what it came up with. Welcome to the Waveform Podcast, where hosts Marques and Andrew explore the latest in technology and science. Join us as we delve into the fascinating world of cutting-edge innovation and discover how it's shaping our future. From the latest advancements in artificial intelligence to the frontiers of space exploration, we cover it all. Tune in every week for engaging discussions and thought-provoking insights.
So, like right off the bat, that seems kind of simple, but if you really think that all I put in there was Waveform Podcast and both of our names, it hits stuff like technology, science, AI, space exploration, that it's weekly and we're doing a discussion. That's pretty impressive.
Okay, so I got to admit something.
Okay.
When I first started seeing these, I was very unimpressed.
Okay.
Because I felt like it was basically taking a few keywords and then just copying and pasting examples of popular versions of that, often from maybe just Wikipedia articles. So I had people send me like, what is an armadillo or what is ultimate frisbee?
Yeah.
And then it would just tell me what ultimate frisbee is, and it would read exactly like the Wikipedia article. And I was like, that's not impressive at all. I could ask Google that and it would tell me the same thing. So it really became much more impressive when the prompts got more creative, I think.
It's similar to DALL-E, where like DALL-E was impressive but clearly kind of messed up. But the more intense you got with the prompts and how it still was continued to be messed up, like errors here and there, but it still could contextually figure out this 2 to 3 sentence long prompt and still create something that made sense.
It's a really good point. It's the more so there's a normal accepted error rate. Let's just call it like 10%. And when you just ask DALL-E, give me a cat, and it gives you a cat, but 10% of the things look kind of weird, you're like not impressed. But when you ask DALL-E, give me a cat with 12 legs in the style of Monet on like canvas with like robots fighting in the background, and it actually does 90% of that, it's really impressive. So I feel like it's kind of along the same lines here. ChatGPT, I've had a number of conversations with it. I've asked it lots of things. I even tweeted what I asked for, iOS versus Android essay.
I love
Android
that.
versus iOS essay. And at previous versions of that, it got some things wrong. Like it was telling me some things that weren't actually true. But the fact that I was that detailed with my prompt and I was like, give me the style of the YouTube video, give me Android better than iOS, give me these things, I was like pretty impressed that it was actually able to generate that much. Even though a lot of it still kind of does read like it's taking from the top line of an article it found or the second paragraph of the Wikipedia about Android. It's sort of throwing together a structure based on things that I asked for, which is cool.
It's blending them very well. It pretty much is doing that. I guess the argument would be, how much is it just copy and pasting from the exact things it finds, or how much is it analyzing X amount of data and then just through all of that data creating something? Because if you search your name, Wikipedia is not going to be the only one. There's going to be 400 pages that say like Marques is an American tech YouTuber with 16 million followers. Right. And then it's going to be like, 500 articles have said that. That's got to be important. I want to take that and put that in there, some form of that in there. But yeah, the way it contextualizes different things and actually make sure that it's using them all correctly in like a story. For the most part, you're right. There is still an error. There is still an error rate for sure. And some of them you read and you're like, that's awesome. And then I think David was saying something about fastest sea mammal. It's like, oh, that's so cool. And then looked it up. It's like, wait, it's not that.
Yeah,
like, that's not what it is. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also have like and this will also, I think, be in the video. There are some errors that are more common than others. Like when you ask for these like AI paintings or portraits or DALL-E, hands.
We're going to get into the paintings in a minute. The art,
Okay.
I guess. Can I do? I made a story in ChatGPT that can I read this and then we'll get into the more art version of it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
In the holiday spirit, I asked. In the holiday spirit, I asked ChatGPT to write a story about how tech YouTuber Marques Brownlee had to take over the role of Santa Claus. Would you like to hear?
I would love to hear what it came up with.
All right. It was the night before Christmas, and Marques Brownlee, better known as MKBHD on YouTube, was feeling more than a little stressed. As a tech YouTuber, he's used to filming and editing videos, not delivering presents to children all over the world. But that's exactly what he had to do. Thanks to a mix-up at the North Pole, apparently Santa Claus had come down with a terrible cold and was able to make the rounds. And since Marques has been so good this year, the elves had chosen him to take over the job. Marques was a bit hesitant at first, but he knew that it was his duty to help out. So he quickly put on the red suit and hopped into Santa's sleigh, which was powered by the latest and greatest technology. The sleigh was equipped with a GPS system that showed Marques exactly where children lived, and it even had built-in cameras so that he could capture all the reactions as he delivered the presents. As Marques flew from house to house, he couldn't help but smile. He loved seeing the excitement on the faces of the children as they opened their gifts, and he even got to try out some of the new tech toys that he had helped design. Before he knew it, it was time to return to the North Pole. Marques was exhausted, but he felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that he helped to make Christmas special for so many kids. As he handed the reins back to Santa, Marques couldn't help but joke, "I think I might have to retire from tech and become a full-time Santa." Santa just chuckled and replied, "I think we might have to make you an elf."
Whoa.
You got burned at the end
Whoa.
of it.
That was so good.
That was really good, wasn't it?
Really good. What was the prompt again? Give me that one more time.
It was, write a story about how tech YouTuber Marques Brownlee had to take over the role of Santa Claus.
That was...
I kind of missed the
Really?
music already.
Yeah, that was really good. It had a punchline at the end.
It
a
really-
story.
So
Whoa.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to play with. I'm very interested to see where this goes. I can't wait for like in 5 years. You just called this before. This is kind of like the highest form of like conversational AI that we're seeing. And in 5 years, when we look back on this and think about how terrible it was, it's going to be really impressive to see where we go.
For real. Okay. Now we should talk a little bit about the visual versions
The
too.
visuals, yes.
There's been we did a whole video about DALL-E. We've talked about DALL-E. It's using, obviously diffusion and creating images from scratch using a natural language text prompt, which is sick. There's another one that's generating AI avatars of people.
There's a couple, yeah.
And I think with this one, basically you feed it several images. Is that right? So you give it some images of yourself,
Yeah.
and it can spit out some cartoon version of you with different situations.
It's very DALL-E-like, except this time focusing on humans, although humans that are consenting by giving you their pictures. Prisma Labs did one for you, and you have a million photos of yourself online.
Yep.
And it did a very, very good job. Like, yours are insanely impressive. And I think what it's doing is similar to DALL-E, where it knows what a general person looks like, but the really cool thing is that it can find the stylization of other things and make you into it. Like, this is you. It looks like you're in a chevron hoodie astronaut suit. And like cool, more like
that.
Miami Vice. Here's you in a purple suit, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of it is really cool, and yours are super impressive.
They're pretty good. One thing I've noticed that it never really does well, just like DALL-E, hands and text. So anytime there's supposed to be text in it, like the one with the astronaut suit, is supposed to have some text on it right there, doesn't really make a real word. If you ask DALL-E to make a stop sign, 7 out of 10 times, it just says some weird random...
mad.
Yeah, some weird word. And then I think there's some other YouTube friends that have done this with hands, but even look at the one of me in a purple suit, like that, those hands don't quite match up. There's like a floating thumb on the top of my hands there that isn't connected to either hand. That just happens when you have hands in photos with AI. So hands are tough. Other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, yours is very good. Sarah Dietschy did one with Avatar AI that was incredible. I mean, but again, then there's like Justine who did one on, I forget if it was Prisma or Avatar. Hers was bad.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of really good pictures out there, and her face looks nothing like her in some of them. Her eye is like almost off to the side, like off the side of her head. It seems to really like some people and really dislike some people. Myself, who doesn't have a lot of good photos online, tried Avatar AI. it is rough.
Really?
I'm going to show you
I
some.
disagree. These are fantastic.
These are
I want to see these.
so, I think these are really bad. To be fair, the photos I fed into it were not great, although it still took about 30 photos. And if you would like, I guess you
I
can
would
pull them
love
up on
to-
your,
Where are they?
yours as well. There's a link in the doc.
Oh, this okay. I'm clicking on it now.
Some of the, so like, I
These are
think
so good.
some of these are very good. Some of these are very bad. I also totally don't approve of all the categories it put me in.
It shows dominatrix as the first category.
There's also like gym and for whatever reason, sunflower field. None of them look like me. I look like Dr. House in some of them, which I'm not opposed to. Like,
It's funny.
Dude.
So
Andrew, you did not tell me that you starred in Whoa, 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 Marak.
wait, what? Oh, the text.
the gym one is
I don't think we can show the gym one.
the gym ones are incredible. They don't. So there's a varying amount of resemblance to your face because you can tell it's picking which photo it's going to use and trying to make it look like you. The Picasso one looks less like a photorealistic version.
I
of
would
you.
argue the ones that look the most like me are just the most standard ones that felt like it's pretty much just pasting the photo that I put in there
race car
onto
driver.
it. It like just kind of looks, the race car driver one, you can just tell in specific ones, it is just my face on Michael Schumacher's face.
The fashion model one of you in a turtleneck is very good.
This is just a young Michael Schumacher with kind of my facial details.
Yeah. It looks like
So like you can tell where it's pulling from on some of these things, and
Worder.
I don't. This might be one of those things where you should watch the clip later if you can't see all of it because it's a little hard to explain. I think the thing is it's nailing very normal photos of me. The fashion model one, the one of just like in a business suit, or the passport versions of these are all just kind of normal. Where photos I fed into this, a lot of them were from weddings, which I had a suit on. So it's basically just making kind of a drawing version. This side profile of me as a fashion model is like, I posted a side profile picture that was exactly like this.
Yeah.
And it just feels like the photo of me.
Okay, so
Overlaid
that's a
onto
good.
something.
This is a really good transition point because there's a tough question behind
Yes.
all of these, which is how do you credit what it's taking inspiration from?
Yes.
And so for the ones that you gave it the pictures of, it's fairly straightforward. You gave it a certain set of pictures, so you know what it's drawing inspiration from. And if you ever see any similarities, it's pretty obvious where it got that stuff from.
I think my whole thing is actually pretty obvious in a lot of theirs, as where the ones that nailed it, it's mostly taking it from the pictures I fed it. The ones
Right.
that didn't nail it, you can kind of tell the photos it's grabbing from.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, it's a discussion that I think we need to have because it's a discussion on Twitter now is what part of where it's scraping from is okay, I guess.
Yeah,
and that
so
is a tough question.
So you mentioned that other one is clearly a picture of young Michael Schumacher.
It's definitely just Michael Schumacher.
That photo, where did that come from?
Exactly.
And we don't know the artist or the photographer or any of that behind that image. And I think that comes back to even like, so Dolly from OpenAI is taking from an unknown giant database of like all of the information that they've fed into it. And then if I ask it for a picture of a cat in space or whatever, it'll give me a picture of a cat in space. And maybe it's taken some photos from artists about cats and some photos from NASA about space. But if I ask it for a photo of a cat in space in the style of an MKBHD video, it might be taking frames from an MKBHD video that it has in its database. And should it be able to do that?
Yes.
And that is a tougher question.
I think that is a very tough question. And I'm going to preface this by saying we're just going to say our opinions very quickly on this. And we're looking at it. So I don't want anyone to.
Yeah, I'm not a
I just want to
copyright
preface
lawyer.
this. We're not copyright
Expert.
lawyers. There's also just like, I don't know. It's a tough subject.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of conversation to be had about it. But there are a lot of artists out there who seem to be seeing this and saying that a lot of things look far, far too similar to art that is not consenting into being part of these AI databases.
And we just don't know how much is a coincidence versus how much is it literally drawing inspiration.
It's very, very hard.
So the way Dolly works is really interesting. And you can sort of go back and watch the video again and hear the explanations, and there's other explainers of this, but it's like it has all this information, it has all this database. It uses diffusion. It has an image of, you can listen to David explain this on a previous episode, but it has just like a static image of just like black and white grain, and then it has a final image, and it tries to use diffusion to like add structure to this static image on its way to the thing that you described to learn what you're making. So if you ask it for a picture, I'm just going to go with a cat again. It knows, because it's learned from its database, what a picture of a cat looks like. And then it tries to create a picture of a cat from nothing, essentially. And so it's not just like taking a piece of someone else's art and pasting it into this new creation and calling it a new creation. That would be a lot more obvious. What it's more doing is learning from all these different sources what it thinks you are trying to ask it for, and then creating a new version of that from scratch. And sometimes the level of variation from that new thing is pretty tough. Like, there's probably not that many pictures, let's say, of a cat with a purple sky behind it or something. So if you're an artist that made a picture of a cat with a purple sky behind it, and then I ask DALL-E for a picture of a cat with a purple sky behind it, it'll probably resemble a little bit more of that artist's photo because it doesn't have as many examples to draw from, if that makes any sense. So it's like, if I make more specific, more nuanced art, I am more likely to find issue with my art being drawn from, rather than if I just made like general pictures of cats, you know?
It's tough. I also think depending on which AI you're using, there's probably ones that are doing a better job, because I have seen people post that like some of these avatars they're getting have old artists' signatures on them, which means it's definitely taking a little more than just completely learning, and it's more melding things together, which feels...
Yeah, if it literally has a signature, then it's definitely not using diffusion.
I think the hardest aspect of this is you've mentioned, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and you mentioned how like in humanity, we take inspiration from people.
Yeah.
And there's no fine line of like what is pure copying and what is inspiration. And I think it's very hard to compare that to a machine and AI learning. And like, I don't know where that line is at all. And I think the more we try and find a line, the harder it gets, honestly.
It's fuzzy. It's fuzzy because basically you could argue that AI, if we're trying to make it as close to a human experience as possible, is literally doing what humans do. It's taking inspiration from things and then making its own thing. And so when you think about like copyright and stealing, you're like, all right, well, if you make the conscious decision to try to make your own version of that thing, you're going to find yourself copying parts of that thing. But if you sort of subconsciously might not remember where you remember it from, but you kind of have this idea of what you want something to look like, and then you create it, you were inspired by all of your previous life's experiences. Everything in your life up to that point has led you to what you are painting. How do you give credit to all of those parts of your life and maybe some pieces of art you might have seen along the way that might have inspired you? That, to me, is just as complicated as the AI creating something new from all of the sources it has to draw from.
My one pushback on that would be, and again, this is super hard to define. If you can't tell, like, we want to be very specific with how we talk about this, because I think we both understand that we are not artists making physical like paintings and stuff like this, so we maybe don't understand.
Well, the other thing was like when ChatGPT makes a script in the style of an MKBHD video, how much is it actually drawing from things that I have actually said? And I asked it for like script in the style of a Mr. Beast YouTube video. And I think it's just like has a general thing where for a YouTube video, it adds an intro in the style of a YouTuber and an outro. It didn't say peace at the end of mine. It didn't have an alliteration. It didn't say, what's up, MKBHD here. It just did like the general YouTube thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how specific or what it's actually drawing from there, but it didn't seem incredibly derivative.
Not to get all conspiratorial, but when Andrew was like, I'm pretty sure that's just Mick Schumacher, I was like, oh, I bet I could find that photo of Mick Schumacher. So I've been digging around.
Is it Mick or Michael? Because he's wearing a red suit, so I'm assuming it's a Ferrari Michael Schumacher.
I've found closer photos of Mick than Michael, but the thing that I wanted to throw out there is that when I run a bunch of the other photos in that race car driver bunch through it, through Google Lens specifically, it brings me a ton of pictures of Haas NASCAR drivers.
Interesting.
And the suit you're wearing is almost identical to the Haas NASCAR suit. And I'm
Knows me too
wondering,
well.
that's what I'm
Haas,
wondering,
baby.
if somewhere in the metadata of the world, there's like a tweet that's like,
I've
Andrew
definitely
loves,
tweeted about Haas.
and you have the Haas shirt that you wear,
Yeah.
and people tweet at you about Haas.
I don't
and
like
it's
this
like,
anymore.
Interesting.
can it, is that a coincidence, or did it get scraped, or like,
Right.
I don't know. I do want to go into that really quick. And what I was going to say before is the comparison, I think, is a gray area of I, as a human, take inspiration from this, and I, as an AI, have a set database with a physically pointing to a thing on the internet that belongs to somebody, and where that ownership and copyright part stands.
You can choose to add things or remove things from the source.
Yeah, there's a physical link to a specific thing. I think ultimately, in a perfect world where the AI would suck on this, is that the database is voluntary or paid for. But I think that database is a fraction of the size of what the database potentially is. I also don't know what these databases are pulling from. This is
They're
we're all speculating,
pretty
but
vague.
I would just
Yeah.
I'm going to go off the assumption of it's just the internet. Everything.
It's some collection that they've put together, because they've taken a lot of things out, because obviously DALL-E doesn't want it to create certain things. So it's taken a lot of things out of the inspiration, and it's taken a lot of things out of things that it'll hopefully create. So they have some curation or control over the sources. They just don't tell us what that is.
Yeah, it's a weird area. I think my ultimate, do you have anything else more you want to say? I kind of have like a closing thought on my
Yeah, I guess I think as I like to draw the line towards the future and see how far forward I can look at it. And it feels like as AI gets more and more complicated and nuanced and impressive, it will become more and more feeling like human brain type of thing.
that scares
And then you really kind of do compare it to how humans draw inspiration from things. There will be more explicit inspiration where it's like, oh, if I'm gonna draw a picture of Andrew with a NASCAR jersey on, I'm gonna give him the Haas one because that seems like it would work. But I think there will be more subtle inspiration, like what fabrics you use or what colors that are just like, I kind of like this color because I grew up liking red. Like that. How do you even examine what to give credit to? That will always be, I think, a fuzzy line.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would say my final thought maybe is a bit different than yours, and I want to go back to something Hassan said, which is just in this AI world, one thing we're losing is the human aspect of it, which is just kind of more of a passion and a feeling behind things. And I think all this AI stuff is really, really cool, and I see it as a tool for the future. A lot of things, there are people who aren't as artistically talented and still want to be able to get a vision out there sometimes, and I think that could help with this to then pass off to the designers and artists that are good at stuff like that.
That's what I see it. Yeah.
And ultimately, when I see these, I think they're cool, and then I forget about them. Whereas, I love buying prints and stuff from artists that I find all over the place because I think they're super talented and really beautiful. And there's just something behind it that gives me a much more interested feeling, and I enjoy looking at it over and over again. I would never buy anything from any of these AI things and hang them on my wall because there's no journey behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas,
you have to know that it came from a human.
exactly. There's so much more to that in just the overall enjoyment of a piece. So that's why I see this as a tool. And I don't know if, I think that feeling is for a lot of people, but I don't know if that's good enough for art. I think artists still rightfully should be worried about this and how it's handling things. But
Yeah.
that's why I don't see it as big of a threat to art in general.
Okay, two things on that.
Yeah.
One, I do agree with a lot of that. And whenever I have a feeling that is I don't think humans will want X, I always have to think, is that a generational thing? I always just run it through that filter, because I always think do humans want to spend all day in VR? No. But my 9-year-old cousin doesn't really care
Sometimes
that
I
much.
do.
There's always a generational question, so I always just toss that in there. Will younger generations buy AI art and think it's totally cool? Maybe. But the other thing is, yeah, it is a tool. And I think that's kind of where I want to go with the video, which is as far as us as creators using AI to do things and make things, it's always a great beginning for brainstorming and coming up with the base of an idea, and then you edit it to create what you want. So every example I have of useful AI is using AI as a tool just like that. Whether it's like running a picture through the AI sharpening filter in Pixelmator, and then it's not perfect, but then you finish it up to look just the way you want. Or you use the magic eraser tool in the Pixel, which uses AI to like fill in the background, and then there's a couple extra things you want, and you finish the edit on your own. All the way up to like, I don't know, I just have ChatGPT and I just say, give me a bunch of video ideas, and I look through that list and I go, oh, here's some good ideas, and then I pick on my own what I think makes a good idea.
I could see like a perfect example would be we want to step up Smartphone Awards set, and you want to show Brandon something cool. You can then quickly create some sort of visual that's 90% accurate, and then Brandon can actually do it. Whereas trying to sometimes explain what you picture in your mind is very hard, and I am not talented to be able to show that at all.
Yeah.
So like something like that is how I see this folding out, at least in what I would plan to.
So one of my favorite examples is the combo, where someone wanted some inspiration for something. So they asked ChatGPT for some descriptions of interesting sets, and then they took what the chat spit out and put it into DALL-E and had DALL-E mock up those sets. So out of completely nowhere, this person just wanted some feelings for some inspirations for some sets, and they got like a bunch of high resolution images of some sets just completely come up with from AI. Technically inspired by humans, but like that person will go on to create their own set using the tools of AI as the baseline for their inspiration. That's the basic thing that I think I find most useful with all these AI tools.
Isn't that kind of limiting though? Like you're limiting yourself to what the AI can picture?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a beginning to the rest, especially when I'm asking for help like that. I'm already like pulling from my own and not really finding something. So I'm like, all right, I want a couple inspirations for like modern sets. I've seen some modern sets, but let's see some modern sets with quasar tubes. And I just type that into DALL-E, and then I get, oh, what if we put all the lights like horizontal? It'd be just like giving us ideas, and then we take it from there. And I think that's like a legitimate use for it. So I think that's probably what I'm going to use it for.
Yeah, I can see it. I think this is a complicated topic that I'm excited to see the video on. And if anyone else would like to chime in here, I would love to hear what other people think. Our Discord channel is, or comments on YouTube, both of them, great places to chat about this. And we'd love to read that before we dive into this video, I think.
Yeah.
So we'd appreciate that.
Before we take a quick break, we do have to do another trivia question.
All right. So Adam has bestowed me with the enormous privilege of doing 2 trivia questions today. So let's kick it off. In 2017, Dara Khosrowshahi became Uber's 2nd CEO. What was he the CEO of before?
All right, into the break. This episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. You've got to go to the doctor. Not right this minute, hopefully, but eventually. But a lot of people put that off because finding a great doctor can be a pain. If you want an easy, tech-forward solution, you need to check out ZocDoc like I did. So ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. ZocDoc has a huge selection of primary care physicians, specialists, and more, so you can find the perfect doctor whether you need a checkup or want to just get your teeth straightened or have your mole looked at. Scheduling is easy, and you can do it all right from the app.
I think we all can appreciate doing things from apps rather than calling and talking to real people.
It's great. So go to ZocDoc.com/waveform and download the ZocDoc app for free, and then get started with your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than deciding to listen to another episode of your favorite podcast. And with no fees or minimums on checking or savings accounts, is it even a decision? Get started today. It only takes about 5 minutes to open an account with Capital One, and there's no minimums to open or keep your account. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One NA, member FDIC. All right, we're back. I got one last little quick thing I want to do, which is the last video that I put up, which was my Tech Hot Takes video. I inevitably knew I would be ruffling some feathers with my different levels of hot takes. What I wanted to do was rank how hot it turns out my takes were based on the reactions I saw.
Okay.
I had 4.
You had 4? Okay.
4 hot takes in this video.
I'll give them a ranking after you. Is that you're ranking them
I'll go from
1 through 4, or you're just going to give it like a 0 to 100, a
I'm
Scoville
going to
scale?
go. Let's do that. Yeah, Scoville score.
0 to 100,
Of
I'll
hotness.
agree.
Okay. So my first take was that TikTok and YouTube will coexist. This is not my first take. This is my least hot take. TikTok and YouTube will coexist because there's such different use cases that people will just spend their time on each platform, and it's fine. This met a tiny bit of pushback because people said that they're spending a little bit less time on YouTube and more on TikTok, but I generally still stand by the fact that they will coexist. I'm giving this a ranking of 35 out of 100.
This is a cold take, I think. I think this is, I think that's totally reasonable. I would argue shorts almost feel different than TikTok while still being short form content. TikTok to me feels more memey and quick hits, where YouTube Shorts feels a little more like a good discoverability platform for main channels. Main channels are still the focus on shorts, I believe.
Yeah, TikTok, you don't have that other extra thing behind like what people are trying to help you find on TikTok. I'm giving it a 35. Not that hot.
10 Scovilles, 35 Scovilles.
35 out of 100 Scovilles possible.
All right, that puts us, in between a bell pepper and a banana pepper. So let's
well,
turn up the heat here.
Okay, if we want to use a real Scoville scale, let's go 0 to 100,000.
I have the Scovilles whole chart in front of me.
100,
I mean, it gets to like absurd, like million plus Scoville.
100's less than a jalapeno, right? Like 100's nothing.
Yes.
100,000, I mean.
Yeah, sorry. I was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
100,000's a pretty good.
100,000?
Like
That's pretty hot. That's Scotch bonnet.
bonnet?
That is exactly Scotch bonnet.
Well played.
Thank you,
Well
Sean
played.
Evans.
So let's go 0 to 100,000.
Okay,
That was a 35.
cool. That was a 35.
Okay, bell pepper.
Yeah, that was a piece of paper.
Yeah, not that hot. Okay, my next hottest take was that 5G sucks, mostly because most people agreed with me.
Yeah,
5G is just not good.
I think
right
there
now.
was like one use case that I saw it in, and I believe New York has pretty decent 5G apparently.
So
And
if you live in a developed city near a tower,
It's not millimeter wave though. It's C-band.
yeah,
Is that what
mid-band?
Yeah,
C-band.
mid-band is like pretty solid. And
pretty
that is
solid.
so niche. And yeah, I guess if you're in a city, that's awesome.
So if you are a podcast listener in one of the like 100 countries that's not New York City,
yeah.
you probably would agree that 5G is pretty bad.
Would you argue that if I change that sentence to, if your parents ask you if they should upgrade to 5G, you should say no? Is that the coldest take ever now?
Yeah, it's just a fact.
Yeah, it's just a fact. Okay.
Yeah, if
Cool.
if your parents are like, "Hi, I'm choosing between these two phones and I'm deciding if I should pick the one with 5G or not," you could just say, "Yeah, save your money, mom and dad. Not worth it right now."
Alice looks mad at me saying that.
What, do any phones not have 5G?
Thanks
think
to
that-
carriers, that's actually a really good point. Thanks to carriers, most phones have 5G.
Yeah.
And they're all more expensive, and all the plans are more expensive, and all the battery lives are all worse.
And they get
for what?
hotter.
And they get hotter, and it's like, for what? For what?
Yeah, I think
get
you
warp
might
speeds on 5G.
You might be right. There was a moment though where I know like Verizon was trying to upgrade people into the 5G plan,
Oh, yeah,
and
they
like
still-
whether they had a 5G phone or not. I know my mom texted me asking if she
Yeah.
should do that. I was like, no,
Yeah, don't
please
do
do
it.
not.
So on the Scoville scale, I'm putting 5G sucks only because there are people in New York who would disagree. I'm putting this at 1,000.
Yeah, I'll go like, sure. I will go there because I know there are people who disagree. No point of me is excited about 5G
Every time
for
I see
another
a-
5 years at least.
Same. Every time I see a new 5G denomination in my status bar, I do a speed test, and it's like 600 kilobits per second, and I'm like, what is
And
happening?
you've lost 5% battery in that time.
None of this is good.
So
All
that
right.
puts us at a Poblano. take.
Poblano.
So a tiny little bit of
Nice.
spice. That's
Dig
a
it.
good, I like that number. Okay. I had 2 more. Second to highest, nobody cares about panel gaps. Real people don't care about panel gaps. Customers who are buying Teslas are not actually asking or caring about panel gaps.
This is something we've talked about 100 times on this episode.
This one got real pushback.
I think the wording of it makes sense. I think it makes it seem just like it's like people don't notice it, or like that they can't be like it feels like you're telling them they're not allowed to be upset. I know that's not what you're saying, but that's what it sounds like when you put that. Therefore, I think the take is hot.
Interesting.
I do agree with you that it is on a bottom of the list aspect of things. And I think that happens in a lot of things. And when I hear that sentence, it makes it feel like we can just forget about panel gaps. And I think it's still something that Tesla needs to severely improve on.
Yeah, I had to break that down in the video, of course. After the title of the hot take, I'm like, here's what I'm actually saying. But I did sort of end it with like, all right, you could have a car dropped in your driveway tomorrow, a Tesla Model Y or a Mustang Mach-E, and you can trade the panel gaps on the Model Y for something from the Mach-E. What do you pick? What do you want from the Mach-E? Anything. The software, the performance, the tires, the sunroof, anything.
The CEO.
And like it's pretty far down the list. So I'm like, yeah, most people who are buying a Model Y or a Model 3 or a Model S, it's pretty low on the list. But there are plenty of people whose pushback was simply, I care about panel gaps.
I mean,
who individually care. And a lot of people who work actually for Tesla did chime in and say a surprising amount of people actually refuse delivery or at least bring up the panel gaps.
I think the thing that also is they're variable. The funny thing about it, the worst panel gap I've ever seen on a Tesla was the Model Y that they lent us for a video as a review unit.
That was in terrible shape.
It was, the hood felt like half an inch underneath the gap to the front bumper. It looked like it had an underbite, and you could see it from every single angle. And
the spoiler was half falling off.
The spoiler was, I don't even know if that's a panel gap or just like a glue issue. But
well, there was also parts inside the car that were like the headliner was kind of peeling off. It was just a poorly made early Model Y. So
that was one where like I kept thinking to myself, if I wanted to buy a nice car, the best part about a nice car is that like parking it, taking 10 steps, and turning around and being like, "Ooh, I own that. That's really cool."
I will only adjust your statement a little bit. Buying an expensive car.
Sorry. Like, well, my Impreza, I wasn't doing that very often.
This is the number one piece of feedback I heard was, if I spent that much money on a car,
it is very true.
I would care about panel gaps. That's the main argument.
I think that's a solid argument, and I still think your argument rings true to it, as in there's so many other things in it that are better than other cars in comparison. But like if you were to buy an $80,000 Mercedes and saw that, you'd be much more upset. For whatever reason, the stigma behind it is
on why you're buying that car. If I'm buying an $80,000 Mercedes, I'm probably looking for certain luxury things, certain comfort things, and I don't care about performance as much. So I'm not mad when it's the slowest one.
How about this? Then all of the people, though, who like to as well say like, well, Tesla is just as nice as a Mercedes, or Tesla is just as nice to that. They need to wake up and realize that in the quality control aspect of things, they are dead wrong.
It's worse.
Okay.
It's just worse. I'm just saying like...
make your argument realistically.
Yeah. If you line up a bunch of cars for the same price, I might decide to buy a Land Rover because I want to off-road. I'm not mad that it's slow. And people are like, well, for $80,000, it should be fast. Well, that's your opinion on what you want in a car. So again, you line up your priorities. I'm giving my take. Tesla customers don't care about panel gaps. I'm giving that a 24,000. Not even that.
I'll go 40,000. Okay. I think it's a bit hotter just because of the fact that we had to explain it that much in turn means it was hotter.
The hotness of the initial take.
Trying not to get dumped on by everybody.
Can I just say, Ellis has like 1,500 tabs open just now. So as you guys are wrapping up, he's like frantically switching tabs, looking for the Scoville.
Have you found the Scoville scale?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm constantly like researching and Googling and fact checking and stuff while we're doing this, but it gets a little out of hand. What was the Scoville?
It was between like 25 and 40.
25 to 40,000.
Like habanero?
No. We're nowhere close. That puts us sort of in the cayenne pepper, Thai pepper range.
Or if you have enough of it, it's hot.
Maybe? No. I take that back. Tabasco cayenne is where
that's pretty low.
That puts us.
Yeah.
The real aspect might be what makes that hot as well, because then people who do care about it feel like
they don't buy it.
It feels like that, like the truth about, or like the contrarian take of like, well, everyone else is lying to you and I'm going to tell you the real deal about it. Yeah. So I think that's what also creates the hotness.
Yeah, I guess the
Little
longer,
steamy.
more detailed take is people who choose to buy Teslas aren't buying it for the build quality.
Yeah.
That's the longer version of it. All right.
It doesn't quite ring up.
Yeah, not as hot,
quite as
not
well,
as spicy, for sure. The number one hottest take is that crypto is just gambling.
I agree 100%.
A shocking amount of people found massive offense to this. Now, I wouldn't say it's a majority. I still think most people would agree, and especially in the wake of like what happened with FTX and like what happens with Bitcoin every couple of months, like we kind of are on the same page that most of the time when people are talking about crypto, they're talking about investing to try to make money. And that's, to me, mostly gambling. Because the difference between investing in a company that is public, that has value, that makes products, who you can assess based on those products. Like if I see Apple comes out with a new product and then I go, that's a good product. They're offering more value to the world. They're more valuable. I will buy their stock. Their stock price goes up because of it. That makes sense. That is not gambling to me. It makes sense. When someone buys crypto, especially when it's not Bitcoin, and there's just like a rampant speculation about the price might go up because who knows, and it doesn't really ever present any utility other than it's a new crypto and it maybe has some new fringe feature, but no one's ever going to adopt it, and then the price goes up or down, and hey, you should put your money in. To me, that is just a slot machine. And I have no problems leaning on that take pretty heavily because it just keeps getting proved true. But a lot of people in the crypto space, I think, generally take issue with any negative sentiment about crypto because they want it to be the future.
I'll talk, like, listen, I do not know. I don't want devil's advocate this one. I'll be honest. A lot of times I feel like the stock market is gambling as well. I don't even, but
less.
I don't know. I don't. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 401k, I guess, but like other than that, I don't invest really in anything, which I'm sure a lot of people will tell me I'm a moron for, but whatever. I think my only
Dogecoin.
I do think crypto, and we've talked about this with NFTs also, is like the gambling aspect of it is the most headline grabbing because people selling an NFT for $69 million is a headline. Mm-hmm. Like people making tons of money when they invested $30 in Bitcoin in 2007 and now they're multimillionaires because of what it's done is a headline. There is stuff on the blockchain that's actually interesting, and we've talked about it before, and just like
fully agree.
There is some technology there that's really cool, but I would argue the majority of crypto stuff that gets flooded into my Twitter that I still haven't muted somehow is probably more gambling aspect stuff. So like, listen, there's some stuff back there, but I most of the stuff I see feels like gambling for sure.
It feels similar to the 5G take in some ways because there is a subset of people who are like, I pay for things with Bitcoin. I use crypto all the time. It has real application. Bitcoin. Well, I'm sure. I mean, there are some companies who accept Bitcoin, and there are some bodegas in New York City that accept Bitcoin. I am not one of those people who has ever bought anything with Bitcoin ever. I think that's most people, and I think most people who do buy Bitcoin never intend to buy anything with the Bitcoin. Most people who buy crypto, Ethereum, Dogecoin, any other random coins or tokens that seem to have some random spur-of-the-moment flash-in-the-pan value are not intending to use it for anything other than to sell it later to some sucker and make some money off of it. Gambling.
It's insanely more prevalent right now with just all the rug pull schemes that happen. And I don't want to like discredit maybe some of them, the better ones, but like there's so many things staining the atmosphere, and crypto in general has a permanent stain on it that I don't think you'll ever be able to shake, whether it's the creator's fault of that or not. It's happened.
Even NFTs like get looped into crypto because of obviously what they're based on, but like I love artists being able to be properly credited for their work long after they make the piece of art. That also makes a lot of sense. I also think it would be cool if the deed of my house one day was actually an NFT. And after I made that video, I got a company that reached out and said, you can actually do that now. And I was like, cool, but I'm not going to do it.
No.
I'm not going to do it.
No, like I agree. I was thinking this morning, like, I don't know where my birth certificate is. If it was on the blockchain, that would be way easier. And that's the boring stuff in there. Somewhere in the future will happen.
Yeah, future generations, maybe.
Yeah, so cool. Thanks for listening to the Cancel the Waveform hosts episode. The comments are going to be spicy here.
I have to give this one closer to like an 80,000 on the
hot take?
on the spice scale because of the veracity that I was disagreed with.
If we're judging by veracity, I think you've broken the scale. I'll go, 90.
90K. Yeah, that's pretty good.
We're firmly in Thai pepper range now.
Nice.
Yeah, spicy.
Cool.
I like it.
Sweet.
What is a ghost pepper out of curiosity? Like 300,000 or something?
800, 900,000. It can go up to 1 million.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't have any takes that spicy.
It's hard to make a taste that spicy.
Giannis is the best power forward of all time.
I think
That is an... I've said more insane things about basketball in this room.
I like
We'll
hockey.
figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It might be true.
My hottest take is Google Chrome is going to be gone soon.
Soon?
Yep, I say 5
You
years.
said 5 years,
Yep,
right?
5 years.
That I
Google
have
Chrome's
a
gone.
hard time seeing.
That's my hottest.
That is a
What's
spicy
taking
one.
over? Internet Explorer?
It's not out
Edge.
yet. Whatever's
It's
taking
not
over
out
is not
yet.
out
I
yet.
Something
don't
is going to
agree.
kill
Something
Chrome
new
in
is
5
coming
years.
and will kill Chrome.
Ooh, that is a spicy take.
Someone's investing in something
There's a lot
over
of
there.
moms, there's a
behind
lot
the
of moms
scenes.
and dads who just fire up whatever their kids tell them, which is just going to take forever to kill.
There's also a lot of moms and dads who don't have any available RAM.
That's fair. That's fair. And with that, we'll move on to trivia.
Oh, do you want to be red?
Trivia time! Look at my camera.
Usually I'm the chevron,
Oh.
so now we swapped. Boom. All right. What's the question? I forgot. Oh,
Right, that's my job.
yeah.
So, question number 1. What is the name of the European Science Center where both the Higgs boson was discovered and the World Wide Web was invented? And I'll accept the name of the center or the country it's in. And if you want to go for both, I'll give you a little 2-pointer.
You'll give 2. Okay.
Just to make David even more behind you guys.
Oh, man.
Who wants to reveal first?
This was very gut feeling. I just wrote down what I felt in my gut.
I think I might have overcooked the questions this week a little bit. So I'll...
That second one is tough. All right.
Yeah.
I got an answer. You got an answer? Oh, I think you're right.
I think you're right on...
I think you're right on Switzerland.
I think I'm right on Switzerland. I just wrote Large Hadron Collider.
Same.
But I don't think that's the name of the science center.
Same.
Yeah.
And I wrote CERN because I think it's at or around CERN. And I don't remember what CERN stands
That
for.
name sounds correct.
Is that it?
CERN?
So it's called CERN,
Okay.
not the Large Hadron Collider.
Okay.
Sorry,
I was
Andrew.
pretty sure. That's fine.
It is on the border of France and Switzerland.
Okay.
So
I'll give you that.
Each
That's
of
it.
you guys get 1 point.
Okay, that's fair.
Together,
Together,
we are scientists.
Together we overcome David. All right, on the border. That's solid.
CERN, good job with that.
Yeah.
The minute you turned that, I was like, yeah, that
Same.
sounds
I
familiar.
saw Switzerland. I was like, yeah.
Do you know what CERN stands for?
No.
I was trying to think. I don't remember.
It's in French. There's no reason you would know.
Oh, is E for European at all?
Yeah, but the French word for European, which is still kind of European.
Yeah,
but
yeah. What does it stand for?
And with that,
really asking a lot of me
It's
today.
French. It's more French.
All right.
There we go.
Not even
Okay.
gonna go for it.
I'll Google it. I'll try it. I'll try to cancel myself live
ask
on it.
ChatGPT.
My girlfriend speaks pretty fluent French, so if she ever listens to this, I would never live it down. So I'm just gonna
Okay.
pass it on to you.
CERN. Oh, the European.
Conseil européen pour la recherche nucléaire.
That is the
The
weirdest
Center for
pronunciation.
European Research of Nuclear, basically.
That makes sense. I'm glad. This video is so scary.
Comments will be spicy. All right. The second one, I don't think I know the answer to.
All right, question number 2. In 2017, Dara Khosrowshahi became Uber's second CEO. What was he the CEO of before? He.
Does that change your answer?
I remember the first guy really messed up.
Yeah, I do remember listening to that podcast about like the start of Uber, but I don't think they got into the secondary aspects of it.
Yeah. This is like the founder that made it all the way to the point where he became the villain.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Turn. Lyft felt like the obvious one, but it like I don't know. I wrote hotels.com.
Weirdly, Hotels.com is kind of close. He was the CEO of Expedia.
If you were going to say,
pretty
I
close.
was thinking Airbnb first because it just felt similar. And then Expedia Travel, I was in the like hospitality range, but I didn't want to go straight to Lyft of just like like Uber just poaching the CEO of
took
Lyft
him.
and him swapping over feels like it would have been a bigger story and I would
It
have
would
known
have been pretty
that.
funny.
But
Yeah. Wow.
all right, I'm proud of Hotels.com. Then.
Pretty close. No points,
No points.
but pretty close.
But
So final
almost a pat on the
score.
back.
Respectable.
Respectable.
Marques
loss.
Andrew tied at 15. David
Okay.
has 9.
Let's give him 8.
Okay, David has 8.
David's very competitive, so we like to
It's
mess
perfect.
with him.
Well, that's been we went over for sure, but that's a long,
Yeah.
excellent episode of Waveform. Welcoming everyone back by just talking our faces off.
Yep.
Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching the clips. Thanks for hanging around. Catch you guys very soon in the next one. Peace.
Waveform is produced by Ellis Rovin and Adam Molina. We are partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our intro-outro music was created by Vane Sill. That outro may have been AI.